This is literally how I traveled around the world with just a backpack by myself while on a budget. I'm just gonna break this video down into each section, like transportation, accommodation, food, activities, and shopping, also travel essentials as well. I am a more of like a, picky, frugal type of person. I can be, at least, but I still wanted to make sure that I had fun. So I made sure that I had some sort of a balance going on. And trust me, you will be surprised by just how much money it really costs to travel and how much fun you can still have. One thing to note though that will affect how much money you end up spending is the way that you travel. Like I said, the way that I did was super spontaneous, going with the flow, last second bookings, and also having just a small backpack with me. I had a 30-liter Peak Design backpack and a 6-liter personal item. And you could easily take on a 60-liter as well, but then there are chances that some budget airlines or other airlines might have you paying extra fees for that or having you checking it in. My 30-liter, it carried a week's worth of clothes for me and a little bit more technology-wise stuff, and that was good. A few things to note. I did not use any mileage points for credit card rewards, anything like that. I worked very hard for my own money, which I did through Uber Eats, and this means that I really needed to make sure that whatever I spent my money on was worth it. I was also never sponsored, and anything that I mentioned in this video, websites, apps, anything, I'm also not sponsored by any of them. Now finally, the first section, okay? So I ended up going on 11 flights total, which, I started off in Detroit, went to Montreal for my layover, and then it was straight to Tokyo. This is the only flight that I had booked. And this ended up actually becoming my second biggest purchase that I ever made in the whole journey. Was my first flight to Tokyo, which was $449.50 for a one-way ticket, bro. That is an amazing price. So I know a lot of people like to recommend some sort of a website or something fancy, where they get the absolute best deal. And honestly, I have used those websites. Really, it was kind of useless though. Those same deals that I found on those websites, I was able to find on Google Flights anyway. So it really didn't make much of a difference for me. It actually made absolutely zero difference. And I just use Google Flights. So let's say I already spent my month in Japan and everything, right? And I'm trying to figure out what's the next place I should go to. Go to Google Flights, okay? Type in where you're flying out from. And then I don't know why it says Philippines. Type in anywhere, okay? Once you type anywhere, it'll everything. Look at the whole map. You can see flights that you can take that, that you can go on. And just find some country that you think would be a nice place to visit, or a cheap place that you think you might just have like a fun time at. Look at this, a one-way ticket to Taipei, $118 from Tokyo. Or you want to go to Hong Kong? Go to Hong Kong, $187. This is exactly what I did every single time I wanted to book a new flight out to a different place. And I think the farthest out I ever booked a ticket was 2.5 weeks when I was in Seoul, booking a flight to Taiwan. Otherwise, sometimes I would book a flight literally like 24 hours before it even flew off the ground, So really, like I said, there's no really like big secret or trick that I have for this. Just go on Google Flights, put in, make sure you change it to one way, and you do type in anywhere, and whatever date it is you're trying to fly out from, fly out, look at all these prices, find the best one, whatever you're feeling like, and go have fun. I stayed 1 month in Japan, and I was looking at the flights to Korea and Taiwan. I'm looking at these, I'm like, oh my God. It costs like $65 to go from Osaka to Seoul. No brainer, okay, I guess we go to South Korea too. And then same thing, I was like, I got to South Korea. I'm looking at flights for Taiwan after I stayed 1 month in South Korea. I think it was like $90 to go to Taiwan. I'm going to Taiwan now. So one thing like people really struggle with is getting to the first destination. Just get to your first destination, and once you get there and you really get a feel of what's going on and how much things really cost, it becomes so much easier just going to the next place. And once you get the hang of things, then you finally realize like, I should have done this stuff, So eventually, I keep going around and stuff. There's some places I did take a bus at and I did not take a flight. Like if I was in Singapore right here, Singapore to Malaysia, just take a bus. I think it was like $10, $15. So that's what I did. and eventually made my way from Bangkok to Denmark, and then Denmark to Hungary, and then from Hungary I took a whole bunch of different buses here. You know, I went from Hungary to Slovakia, Austria, to Czechia, to Poland. Took Flixbus, sorry. Use that. Use Flixbus. You can, I think for visiting 5 countries in Europe, I spent maybe $100. Went from Poland to Edinburgh, then from Edinburgh, London, all that fun stuff. London, I spent maybe like 15 days in the UK, and I made my way back to good old United States. So for all 11 flights that I took on this trip, it cost me $1,633.21. That's it for 11 flights. People pay that for one single flight. So that was just for flights, right? Now the grand total that I spent on transportation, including flights, including the price of every flight, was $2,580.54. So this includes any buses, any subways, trains, anything that took me from point A to point B is included in this price. And one tip I have for this, if you want to save money on transportation, is I guess really just not moving around too much. I went to 7 different cities in Japan, and it really, you know, it adds up, taking the bullet train and all that. So just stay, you know, it's nice to have some slow travel moments as well, and just chill, and you save some money that way as well. All right, next we have accommodation. Now there's really just 2 types of accommodations that I stayed at. One being, you know, the paid type, which like hostels. 80% of the places I stayed at were hostels. Good place to socialize at, can be a cheaper option. Most of the time it is, depending on what time of the year you go, what holidays are, you know, going on in that particular country or globally, the prices can be pretty expensive as well. And for hostels, really, I use booking.com, Agoda. I trust both of those websites. I was kind of skeptical about using them at first. I was always like, no, I have to book directly with the hostel or the accommodation. You know, you never know what happens with these websites. And there are some stuff you gotta watch out for. Like if you're a guy, do not book a girls only hostel. I've heard some people tell me their stories about how they booked one and they don't get a refund and they can't stay at the hostel because they're a guy and they stayed at a girls hostel. Don't do that, okay? But either way, like there's also Hostel World. I've used it the first 2 times I booked a hostel, but really the prices can be expensive on there compared to booking.com or Agoda. So I'd rather just use these websites. Again, I'm not sponsored in any way. And I guess the tips that I can give about, you know, booking a hostel, particularly on like booking.com, for example, is always look at like 3 different things: the price, the location, and the rating, okay? You want, I think, obviously look at the price first, right? But don't book the cheapest hostel, okay? Don't be like me and pay $13 per night at a hostel in not Tokyo, but in Japan, and end up getting 80 bedbug bites, okay? This is the second hostel I ever stayed at in my life. It was horrible. Don't do that to yourself. Look at the reviews. Go to a good, decent hostel. You might be thinking, oh, I can handle it. If it's $13 and $5, I don't care how bad of a sleeping arrangement it is. I can handle it. No, you can't, okay? You think you can, but you can't, okay? Don't do that to yourself. Have some self-respect. Pay a little extra money so you have you're a good mental health, okay? You want to maintain that mental health throughout your trip, okay? And location, obviously a big one. Make sure you're near like a train station, bus station, some big attractions, I guess, which are in walkable distance. Very important. And then, you know, these 3 things, you just gotta see them, you know, find some sort of, good like common ground, or whatever the right word is, where you feel comfortable at that price point, and all things combined. And now the second type of accommodation I stayed at, which helped me save a lot of money, was volunteer opportunities like World Packers. So for this, I was kind of like, it's kind of a scary thing, you know, like volunteering in a different country, you've never been there before, and you just gotta like, you know, talk to people and hang out with them, and you don't know, maybe the host is bad. There's a lot of different things that you might think that might go wrong. And honestly, yeah, they can. You just gotta be careful, look at the reviews, okay? I'm not gonna say everything is gonna be okay. because my first volunteer opportunity was in Korea teaching English at a, it's called a hagwon. And basically I was just supposed to be talking to the students and everything like that in English and having conversations with them. And that's it. But the host was pretty toxic. It was a pretty toxic environment. And, that's a whole different, story or video on it, of its own. I won't get too into that. But make sure you look at the reviews. Even sometimes the reviews can be false, because Worldpackers will sometimes actually hide like bad reviews. Even if they're recent, they'll hide the bad reviews under the good ones. So sometimes you have to go digging, okay? But because I did this volunteer opportunity, I was able to spend only $618.87 for 28 days in South Korea. So for every food, transportation, anything that I might have needed, it came out of the 618 bucks. If I paid for a hostel, this would have been an easy extra minimum $600. And after that, I did end up doing actually 3 more Worldpackers. Amazing experiences with the next 3. Worked at a couple hostels. I taught English in Indonesia as well, and phenomenal, amazing. You socialize, you talk to people, you learn about the culture, you really immerse yourself. It's in some of these Worldpackers cases, and they're not all bad. I volunteered in 2 hostels in Taiwan, and I spent for 1 month in Taiwan. For counting every single penny, I spent $544.71 in Taiwan for 1 whole month, bro. What? That price is insane. That's 3 times less than I might pay for an apartment in the United States here for a month. But for that, I got my food, transportation, everything. So if you do want to stay in places like this for a month or longer, definitely do volunteer opportunities like this. You'll save a lot of money, and you can just keep the adventure going on for longer. Okay, so food, huh? Big section here, okay, for a lot of people. I set myself a budget for 15 bucks a day, USD, and that was enough for me, especially in Asia. There were some times where I thought about, who cares? I'll spend a little dollar extra here or there per day. But $15 a day works amazingly fine in Korea, Taiwan, obviously Thailand. In Japan it works out as well. Just depends on how much you eat as a person, I guess, and some other lifestyle choices. Like, for example, I don't really drink coffee, and I do not drink alcohol. So 2 big money, expenses right there, eliminated. I don't even have to worry about, because I don't even do them. That's it. And I ended up spending, for every single food item that I ate or drank or whatever, I spent $1,767.24 for a total of 5 months, meaning that I averaged $12.62 per day on food. My tips for this, really just don't drink coffee, don't drink alcohol, don't eat, too much. I guess that's really it. This is something on you. Just don't indulge too much into your desires. Obviously still have a good time. Try the foods out that you want to try out, and sometimes treat yourself. There were many times where I spent maybe $30 on a meal. Who knows if I'm ever gonna have a chance to try that ever again in my life. I want to be on a budget, but I want to have fun at the same time. Okay, so it's okay to spend money on some fun, nice stuff for yourself. Okay, activities. Now, like I just said, you do want to treat yourself. Don't just be doing the free stuff, or just stay at your hostel and just do nothing. You spent all this money to come here. Do some fun stuff, spend a little bit of money on this, right? So for example, in South Korea, I went on a tour to see the DMZ and see North Korea and experience all that type of stuff. And on my birthday, I also went, I was in Singapore, and I went on top of the Marina Bay Sands, and I got a view of the city. So treat yourself to these experiences, okay? It's okay to spend that money on that type of stuff. Now, for shopping, I did almost 0 shopping while I was away, because I have a 30-liter I have a backpack, dude. What type of shopping am I supposed to be really doing here? I'm on a budget as well. The only shopping I really did was when I was in Japan. Actually, on my second day, I spent about 77 bucks at Uniqlo. I brought only 2 outfits with me on this trip, and I was looking at the prices at the store at Uniqlo. I'm like, oh my god, I can buy some. This is a big discount compared to United States prices. So I went straight to Uniqlo, bought the clothes that I thought I would need on this trip, and for the 5 months straight, I just wore those same clothes over and over again. I did laundry, and yeah, good experience. Other than that, maybe some like miscellaneous, like, slippers I bought or some other miscellaneous stuff. I ended up spending $113.27 for the whole time. And now travel essentials. This really encompasses also miscellaneous stuff as well for me. It was just stuff like, ATM fees, or, a big one is like eSIM. I use this app called UBG. Literally every country that I went to, I just used this. I spent, I think, $60 when I went to Japan for the unlimited plan for a month. I did not need that. There's Wi-Fi everywhere in most countries that you go to. And I realized that, the $10, $5, whatever the cheapest option was most of the time for like a month or like a week or however long I planned on staying for that particular country was enough. You don't need too much data, okay? I contemplated about it, but I never actually bought a SIM card from the airport or from any of these providers that are local to these countries. Like, this is very simple to use. Again, not sponsored. And like I said, this section for me personally was a bit more miscellaneous stuff as well, not just travel essentials. So the number is a bit higher on this. It's I spent $703.66 on this. Now you might be wondering one thing, Ahmed, where's the travel insurance? How much did you pay for that? Here's the thing. I had no travel insurance. I paid $0. I raw dogged it the whole time, man. There was never a time where I needed, any serious help or anything like that. Thank God. I had nothing worse than something, ibuprofen couldn't handle, or Pepto-Bismol. I kept some medicine and some stuff with me. Other than that, I was good, bro. Thank God I was good. And now, after 5 months of solo travel backpacking around the world, I spent, drumroll, $6,696.57. Bro, that is a good price for 5 months of travel like that. And mind you, I'm booking everything last second, so I'm not planning anything out or having like the best deals out there. No credit card points, like I said, and just having fun, man, and still getting those experiences. And this is an amazing price. This really, like, for 5 months, $6,696, that's cheaper than living in the United States for that same amount of time. Check out my whole journey right here. I'm putting a playlist right there. And yeah, like and subscribe. And if you guys have any sort of questions or anything like that, or any comments, let me know.